What's up, YouTube? So before we get started with this video, on First Take, they're going to be talking about, should Julio Jones be paid as much, if not more, than Antonio Brown? So let's see what they have to say.
Don't get me wrong. I know that Julio Jones is in the top 2 of any receiver discussion. But I'm just talking about, his ability to go up and get the football, unquestionable. We get it, height, size, all to his advantage. But in the end, I think Antonio Brown has found himself dealing with similar adverse circumstances and situations and has found a way to get himself in the end zone a bit more than Julio Jones. And I think that counts for something. And the receptions are relatively equal over the...
So, Stephen, I think that primarily plays into what type of system you're playing. So, Julio Jones might have more touchdowns or more yards than Antonio Brown or Odell Beckham Jr. because of the system you're in. So, whoever your head coach is, what type of system he runs, what type of quarterback, who your quarterback is, how many key players you have around you. You may be the primary receiver, but you might have a top running back like Le'Veon Bell. So he might take away some of your touchdowns. You might have a good tight end. He might take away some of your catches and your touchdowns. So it kind of varies with the stats of these top 3 wide receivers: Odell Beckham Jr., Julio Jones, and Antonio Brown, because of the system, who their quarterback is, and what their key players are around them. So take the numbers with a grain of salt. So let's keep going.
Past several years, that's why I would go with Antonio Brown, but I know Julio Jones is a bad brother.
Julio Jones is 30 years old, so how many more years does he have as a lead receiver?
Brown, by the way.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But Odell is significantly younger, 26.
Right.
So age is part of how you get paid, but let's put that aside for a second and talk about who deserves to be the highest paid. The answer is Julio Jones.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. Odell is the most talented receiver. I think he's in a class by himself. Antonio Brown is the most productive receiver. But Julio Jones is in that category. The weakness on and off the field. So my favorite is Odell, and I think he's really the most talented. I really think he's the best. The one you can make the best case for proving is Antonio Brown. They both just got traded for less than they were worth because they were, an issue.
So, Max, I would not say that Antonio Brown and Odell Beckham Jr. got traded for less than their worth, because I think they got their worth. As a matter of fact, I think Odell Beckham Jr. restructured his contract, I think he got like $14 million more or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but I think they got their money's worth when they got traded. So as far as the money, well, I wouldn't talk about that. But as far as the other stuff off the field type things, Julio Jones is by far is the full package. You can count on him to get the same type of numbers, if not better numbers, than Odell Beckham Jr. and Antonio Brown. And you don't have to worry about him getting in trouble off the field. You don't have to worry about him getting DUIs. You don't have to worry about him beating up his girlfriend. You don't have to worry about getting caught with a trunk full of guns. You don't have to worry about getting caught, running from the cops or doing anything like that. You have to worry about him fighting in the locker room with other players. He just does what he's supposed to do, balls out on the field, goes home, and does whatever he does very quietly. And that's it. So let's keep going.
Julio Jones is right there, and he's got the size they don't have, and he never gives you a problem. That man deserves to be the highest paid receiver in football.
Max, you're correct. Julio Jones should be the highest.
And that right there should be even more incentive for younger football players to see that, look, you can still get paid if you get in trouble and, you're kind of a headache, but there's incentive to not get in trouble when it comes around contract time, because you may be a baller on the field, you may be tearing it up on the field, but if you're trouble off the field, you better be guarantee when it comes contract time, that's going to come up. And you might lose millions of dollars because a team may not want to deal with you. A team may want to trade you. You may not get a max contract because they can't trust that you won't be locked up when you should be playing. So let that be a lesson to the younger ballers out there, that if you don't get in trouble and you put in work on that field, you will be handsomely rewarded. You will be rewarded, because even if your numbers kind of slump a little bit, and you may not be the top receiver, just by being a good team player and not getting in trouble, a team might negotiate and give you a little bit more money because, look, I'm not a headache. My numbers dropped a little bit, but look, you can guarantee that I'll be here. So let's go and kick me up for $2 or $3 more million. I don't get in trouble. I'm not like Odell. I'm not like Antonio Brown, even though I like those guys. But I don't get in trouble. Come on, baby. You can hook me up with extra $2 or $3 million. I've been on this team the whole time. Anyways, let's keep going.
Pay a receiver. I mean, look at this. Not just the numbers, right? The numbers are the numbers. He had a season where he had 130 plus catches, second only to Marvin Harrison. He is a guy, 4 years of over 1,400 yards receiving. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. But when you watch him play, I'm a believer in pop. It's just unmatched. Nobody else is moving around like Julio Jones. No one else is catching the football the ways that Julio Jones is and putting up the numbers. I know the touchdowns might not be there, but when you watch him play, he garners so much attention, and you have to figure out where he is. He can't be covered. He could barely be covered by two people, let alone one. So with that being said, I think his skill set is just second to none in this league.
That's on Sark, Vic. That's on Sark. Like, you got that's on the offensive coordinator. You got Julio Jones on your team.
Well,
you got to figure that out.
Well, they got to figure out how to get him the ball.
Well, we could look at Steelers coordinators, the relationship between Big Ben, Todd Haley, and how that could supposedly was going to detrimentally affect Antonio Brown. That wasn't necessarily the case. Here's the deal. In 3 of the last 6 seasons or so, I think, Victor, Julio Jones had over 100 receptions. Let me give you the last 6 years for Antonio Brown, if you don't mind. 110, 129, 136, 106, 101, and 104. Julio's best season with the 136 receptions. Antonio Brown also had 136 receptions. I'm not sure if it was the exact same year.
I think it was the same year.
I think it was the same year, but I'm not sure. 136. The season before that, he had 129 receptions, okay? Now you take a look at...
Okay, so again, Stephen A., a lot of that goes into your system. And who's Antonio Brown's quarterback been this whole time? Ben Roethlisberger. Ben Roethlisberger is an all-star Hall of Fame quarterback. He's a Super Bowl quarterback. Of course, his number is going to be a little bit more better than any other quarterback wide receiver tandem. Okay, so definitely I could see Antonio Brown's numbers being a little bit inflated because of who his quarterback has been. So let's keep going.
Now, y'all going to laugh at me for saying this, but damn it, I'm going to go here. Okay? The drama in Pittsburgh. Let's also not really... When we talk about the attitude and how comfortable...
It's part of it.
Excuse me, Antonio Brown's in Pittsburgh. Where's Julio Jones? Atlanta. I'm here to tell you, there's not a lot to complain about. It's Atlanta, Georgia. You understand? I mean, let's take on. So when we talk about, the attitude, your comfort level, Max Kellerman, I mean, far be it for me to get a little bit personal here, but you didn't look as happy in Bristol as you look in New York. I mean, there's something to be said.
Bristol's a fine place.
I'm sure it is. There's something to be said. I mean, Victor, where are you at right now? Where are you at right now, Victor?
I'm in lovely Bristol, Connecticut.
You're in Bristol. I don't see you smiling, even though you're smiling now. I don't see you smiling. I don't see you smiling as much as you smiling right here in New York City. Max, did you notice the tan with the smile that Max had when he was in L.A.? There's something to be said about locale. So when you talk about who...
So the location does play a factor, I think. But as far as those three players, Odell Beckham Jr., Julio Jones, and Antonio Brown, I don't think the location was that big of a deal because their production numbers are all hovering around the same high production wide receivers. So I don't know if their location has a big factor on where they're playing because they all pretty much in New York. Odell was playing in the cold. I think it gets cold in Atlanta. And then in Pittsburgh, it gets cold. So it's not like someone's going from California to Chicago or something like that. So I don't know about their location has really affected their play because they've been balling no matter what. So on the field, I don't see a problem. And off the field, I don't see a problem with their location. So let's keep going.
Julio Jones, who went to Alabama, which is only 4 hours away by driving, only 4 hours away from Atlanta, Georgia, affectionately known as the ATL, okay? And some other quarters, different names. The point that I'm trying to make to you is when you're living there, okay, as opposed to Pittsburgh, where it's all about football, a steel city, blue collar, nothing.
Antonio Brown is going to be in Las Vegas soon. You want to bet he's still doing stuff on social media and stuff?
So that's going to be a big factor too. I think Max might be right, at least coming up. So the Oakland Raiders are going to be moving to Las Vegas. So that could be a problem. That could be a problem for some guys that are easily persuaded with the dark arts, if you will. because there's a lot of that in Las Vegas. There's a lot of room to get into trouble in Las Vegas. So that might play a factor. Just as long as it doesn't affect his on the field play, I think all these guys should be okay. But I haven't so far. I don't think the location has done anything because their numbers have been superb. So I don't know if that's going to be a factor or has been. So let's keep going.
But the thing with Julio,
he's going to be a lot happier.
The thing with Julio is that even when things weren't going their way in Atlanta, they were still, he kept a level head, he stayed his part, he stayed quiet, and went out there and played football. That's the difference.
When was Antonio Brown a problem before this season?
Two seasons ago was the Facebook Live thing,
that was the Facebook.
You know what, Stephen A. Smith is right, because I don't really remember too much trouble from Antonio Brown before this season. And I think what really hyped up the situation was they weren't winning. They weren't doing the type of they weren't a high caliber team at that point last year, the Pittsburgh Steelers. So when you're losing and you're not living up to what you guys should be doing, I think that really amplifies whatever situations that might have been going on, because I don't really ever remember hearing anything bad about Antonio Brown other than last year. And Odell Beckham, I've kind of heard things on and off with him. But Julio Jones, I never hear anything from him. That's why he's a whole package. He can do everything and anything that Odell Beckham Jr. can do and what Antonio Brown can do. And he doesn't get in trouble. That's the big incentive right there. He doesn't get in trouble, and that's what can get you a fatter contract and more years on your contract for not getting in trouble. But to tell you the truth, I haven't heard too much about Antonio Brown getting in trouble other than the year before. So, but let's keep going.
Live in the players that they want to no.
But still,
he was behind. He wasn't listening to his coach,
right?
So he didn't know.
Right.
But that's all that was.
Right.
That's not a problem.
That doesn't happen with
Julio
Jones.
But he shouldn't even have his phone out. He shouldn't even have his phone out while the coach is addressing the team.
Julio, you just said you're ready to sell your house and move to Atlanta right now, and
I didn't say that. I like my house. I love my house. I'm good, but I'm just saying there's a difference.
You also love the Georgia peaches, so you.
How many Super Bowls has Antonio Brown been to?
It is true.
How many Super Bowls has Antonio Brown been to?
None. He's been to one, but not as a starter.
How many Super Bowls has Julio Jones starred in?
Julio Jones.
Yeah.
So I don't think Julio Jones wants to talk about the Super Bowl that he went to, because that was the one of the worst Super Bowls ever for a team. So for New England to come back, I think they came back like 25 points. I think that was the biggest comeback ever in Super Bowl history, ever. As a matter of fact, at no point were the New England Patriots winning that game, that Super Bowl against Atlanta Falcons, until the game was over, until they scored. At no point was New England winning until they scored the winning points in overtime. And they came back like 25 points, I think, the first half. It was the biggest comeback. That is the game. That is the Super Bowl that a lot of people put Tom Brady as being the GOAT, the greatest quarterback of all time. Because that was his fifth win. That was his first Super Bowl win, which trumped, Joe Montana and Terry Bradshaw, who had 4. So now he had 5 off that win. And then we don't want to talk about what happened last year, which he got a 6th ring. So I'm getting off topic, but let's finish up this video. Let's keep going.
Was it?
One?
Yeah, Julio Jones should have won that game.
One?
Yeah,
that
so
was
you
an
got
epic
to the Super
collapse.
Bowl with Julio
All right,
Jones.
well, there is something to be said that you were on the offensive side of the ball when y'all lost a 25-point lead.
You lost the lead because you stopped throwing the ball to Julio Jones.
That's a coaching. That was
he should have made sure that didn't happen. Maybe if he was a big